Now, the last person you heard on that particular tape is my guest. That is Captain, retired Kwabena Bachanfor. Captain, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I hope you are doing well, sir.
I'm okay.
I want you to take us back to 40 years ago.
Yes.
What really happened on this day?
Thank you. Let me first extend my condolences to all the families of the June 4 dead and to all those who in diverse ways suffered at the hands of AFRC rule. I recall on this day 40 years ago having fallen out of all-night duty as a Red Corps or Emergency Reaction Unit officer in 5 Battalion.
I see.
And I was just preparing to retire to bed to catch up on sleep when my Batman, a Lance Corporal Asola Fadola, came in and broke the news. Sir, 6 more senior officers have been executed. I asked him who they were, and he mentioned the names. I immediately got up, dressed up again, went to the AFRC headquarters, and confronted Flight Lieutenant Jerry Rawlings in the presence of General Hamidou, who was the AFRC's liaison officer for government business, and Mrs. Imon Nikwe, late, who was the AFRC's foreign minister. I hasten to add that before I got there, one of my soldiers, also a member of the AFRC, Lance Corporal Sir Kudiado, who was to be summarily executed alongside Corporal Jiwa at the Air Force Station, was angrily quarreling with Jerry Rawlings in front of General Hamidou and Mrs. Emonikwe. We wanted to know why the executions had taken place, because the council had taken a firm decision that there would be no more executions. We wanted an explanation, and all Jerry Rawlings could tell us was that they came overnight and pressurized him. Who came and pressurized him 40 years on? Neither Ghanaians, nor me, no.
What was your exact role in the AFRC?
I became the last member to have been invited to join the AFRC on the 19th of June. When I became a member, I was made the AFRC's liaison officer for foreign affairs.
I see. More like a foreign affairs minister.
More like a foreign affairs minister. But because I was young and inexperienced, I worked under the tutelage of General Hamidou.
I see.
He led delegations of which I was a member to meet with the late General Nasingbe Yadema of Togo, the then head of state of the then Upper Volta, I forgot his name. And then we went to Abidjan to meet up with the late Ufiebonye as well.
I see.
General Hamidou was leader of delegation, but I was the AFRC member responsible for foreign affairs.
So you are stating categorically,
yes,
that but these generals who you say there was no agreement to execute, they had been arrested before.
General FIFA was in his home village.
even on the day of the execution?
No. He had been surreptitiously, arrested without the knowledge of some of us. General Champon was in his Trabung village.
Yeah.
And they had all been arrested. The other members of the SMC were in guard rooms. So it was easy to lump them together.
I see. So was the two former heads of states, for example, who were out of the, who were not in Accra, who were not under any form of detention?
I would want to believe that they had been arrested and brought under detention somewhere, but it wasn't known to most of us.
How was decisions made in the AFRC?
The AFRC acted on an ad hoc basis, to be frank. I don't think I sat in more than 1 or 2 full house meetings.
I see.
Decisions were taken by
small units
at the helm. Jerry Rawlings, Mensah Gbedemba, Lieutenant Commander Palu, Boachijan, and the other officer also gone, Mensah Poku.
Okay.
But you see, Boachijan and Mensah Poku, the AFRC was divided when I joined.
On the 19th?
When I joined on the 19th, the officer corps...
But I had barely been in place for 15 days.
Yes, the officer corps was split right into the middle. Boachijan and Mensah Poku on one side, Jerry Rawlings and Apalu on one side, with Mensah Gbedemba, being
in between the two.
Boachijan and Mensah Poku operated from the castle, so they were hardly at the AFRC headquarters. Jerry Rawlings was always there. He slept there.
Where?
In the AFRC room.
That's Burma camp?
Yeah. No, not... Well, Burma camp in general, 5 battalion in particular.
Oh, I see.
So decisions were taken, at night, offhand, where there were 2 or 3 gathered. And the other rank members hardly attended meetings. I mean, for example, I was the Red Koi or Emergency Reaction Unit officer before I was made a member.
Okay.
And even after I had been made a member, I continued in that role.
Okay.
Because I had an interest. Because I knew that if June 4th was reversed, I'll be one of the first to go.
Really?
Oh, yes. Because of the role I had played. So I was interested in ensuring that June 4th would not be reversed.
Okay.
So at night, I would be with the soldiers. Even though I was an AFRC member, I would stay up night with the Red Company.
Of the 5th Battalion?
Of the 5th Battalion. And it was after one such duty night, when I had fallen out in the morning at about 6 o'clock to go and catch up on sleep, that my Batman walked up and told me the generals had been executed.
How did that make you feel?
I was naturally angered. I was angered. Because on the 19th of June, when I became a member, Generals Achampong and Uchuka had already been executed.
On the 16th?
On the 16th.
3 days after?
3 days after or before I became a member.
Okay.
And on that day, we were due to meet civil society groups, workers and students who were calling for the blood to flow.
So the people were demanding that they should be killed?
People were demanding. As a matter of fact, in the very first few days, one officer, a Captain Hupemboa, now deceased, submitted a list of nearly 300 officers, policemen, and their counterparts in civil society to be executed. He submitted this at a Durbar in 5 battalion. I think the figure was 247 or so. But all this was whittled down. And yet still, I don't think there was a need for some of the actions taken.
So for these 240, whichever figure you put to it,
Yes.
what had they done wrong?
Well, it ranged from treason,
As in attempting to overthrow government.
overthrowing governments. You see, the parameters of crime and punishment had been delineated by the council after consultations with the legal directorate of the Ghana Armed Forces.
The legal directorate.
Yes. So they had established that those who have been involved in overthrowing governments were to be charged with treason, punishable by death. Those who were deemed to have committed ethical and professional, problems, crimes, were to be given lesser sentences.
I see.
That was roughly the
And
arrangement.
there was a judicial system where the courts in operation.
Not the civil courts. There was supposed to be what we call the PIT, the pre-trial investigation team, and then the People's Court. The pre-trial investigations team was based in 5 Battalion, and the People's Court, I initially thought it was at the Air Force Base, but it turned out that they were at Peduasi Lodge.
So these were, as in quasi-judicial bodies set up specifically.
Yes.
And why were the courts not allowed to operate?
Well, we were under martial law, so to speak, isn't it?
Okay. So let's be clear. All the people that were killed from the 16th of June to the 26th, were they taken through any judicial process?
As I have said, I wasn't a member of the council when Generals Echampong and Utuka were executed.
Yeah.
I don't know what judicial process they were taken through.
Okay.
And even after I became a member of the council, the 6 senior officers were executed exactly 1 week after I had become a member. And I have absolutely no clue what judicial processes took place. In fact, I had occasion to warn one of my mates, an Air Force officer, who was attached to the People's Court,
Okay.
to be careful. I don't want to mention his name.
Okay. And this was because you wanted him to not be part of those who are
Not to be
assassinated.
part of those who were pursuing all manner of agendas under cover of the national interests.
How do you tell me that way? I thought the idea was that, and basically, because I'm going through what decree established the AFRC
Yeah.
and its particular mandate.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm going through that is to be able to independently ascertain whether or not the AFRC under these engagements
Yeah.
was supposed to be any different or actually pursued what agenda did it set out for itself. So, for example, the transition provisions of the 1979 Constitution in Section 16 says the revolt was an exercise undertaken to purge the armed forces of corruption and graft,
Yes.
and to restore the image of the military and to deal with the accomplices of the guilty members of the armed forces and other persons guilty of malpractices to the detriment of the economy of Ghana
Yes.
or the public interest or both.
Yes.
And again, by that, they established what's called the Special Courts Decree of 1979, AFRC Decree 3, and the tribunal established by the AFRC Special Tribunal and Other Matters Decree in 1979. One of the other things that's also important in the preamble of that particular AFRC decree was that it says, and whereas in the said house cleaning, it is necessary to institute criminal proceedings against persons who have committed certain fraudulent acts against the state, and also persons who have generally contributed to economic hardship and disorder in the country. And it also proceeds to say that whereas it's necessary to set up special courts to deal expeditiously with and specific cases that have been produced here. The AFRC sounded like it was not supposed to be using the normal judicial process to do anything at all.
You refer to the transitional provisions.
Yes.
I will refer to indemnity clauses.
How?
Just as the indemnity clauses were smuggled, as it were, into the 1992 Constitution. Was it 1992?
1992, yes.
92 Constitution, up allegedly by Justice Annan.
DF Annan.
DF Annan.
Okay.
So were the AFRC's transitional provisions smuggled into the 1979 Constitution by Adumwa Bosman.
Really?
It was, you know, the way Jerry and his people worked to try and cover up matters.
Okay.
So all this is unnecessary book long. The fact is that on ground, the executions were not fair.
I wanted to know whether or not only executions of generals, all the people, 240 or so, all the long list of people who were supposed to be dealt with.
Yes.
Was there expectation that they'll be given fair trial?
As I had said, before I became a member of the council, the AFRC had already worked out their policy decisions and courses of action.
I see.
In consultation. So I am not the best person to answer
the question about
the questions you are posing. Yes. I'm not the best person to do that. I think you better speak to the likes of Bwachijan and co.
I spoke to him. What he said was that they basically use the laws.
Yes.
But there are complaints that, especially some of the generals who were in this particular case, they never had any legal representation.
Listen. Why was General Utuka, for example, executed?
Is it not for the same corruption and graft that was allegedly
yes,
put
so
out there?
they say. Corruption and graft and treason and whatnot. I'm talking about treason.
Yeah.
Who were the masterminds of the 1972 coup? It wasn't General Champong. It wasn't General Utuka.
It's not a Champong?
No.
But Champong became the leader.
Champong became the leader, but he was not the mastermind. He was not the executor. The executors were Major Salome and Agbo. The masterminds were Brigadier Alphonse Kata, Kojochi Kata, and Kofi Awuno.
And you have evidence to support these claims?
That is the information I have. I don't have the evidence. I mean, I'm only a peddler. I was a peddling lieutenant, and the last who have become a member of the council.
I see.
But that is insider's information. That is the information I have.
I see.
So why was General Champong? In fact, according to Major Bwachijan, when they had settled on the execution of General Champong, he, Bwachijan, advised that there should be parity, because General Champong was an Akan, and he was singled out for execution. The Akans might not take it kindly. Whereupon Lieutenant Commander, the late Lieutenant Commander Apalu, peremptorily said, Utuka.
But he was border guards commander. He
was border guards commander.
Yes.
But if we were talking about treason, should he not have mentioned Salome or Major Salome or Major Agbo, who were the actual men who executed the 1972 coup?
Oh, I see.
They brought in Kwamba. They brought in General Achampong because he was a brigade commander as cover for them.
I see.
So if Achampong was going to be executed for treason, he should have gone with Salome and Agbo.
And not Utuka.
And not Utuka. And apparently they mentioned Utuka Because I'm sorry to say, but the truth must be told now after 40 years, as I know it, so that we can come to terms with it. He mentioned Utuka, knowing that Utuka was not an Ebe.
He wasn't.
Utuka was not. He was from the Volta region, but he was not an Ebe. Well, Utuka is not an Ebe. He was from the northern Volta.
Oh, okay. Now Oti region.
Well, I don't know whether it's Oti region or whatever.
That's what is it now?
Yes. Utuka was sacrificed to save the skin of some people.
The children issued a statement sometime along the line and said that
The children
of General Utuka, their main concern was that every evidence suggests that he was actually used to do some form of ethnic balance.
Precisely. But was it correct?
I mean, that's inappropriate. I mean,
was it appropriate?
No.
No. Because from what I know, the godfathers of the 72 coup were Brigadier Alphonse Kata, Kojoti Kata, Kofi Awono. Their failed officers were Majors Agbo and Salome. All Ebes. These latter two officers recruited Major Kwamba, their contemporary, into it. And along the line, they roped in General Champon because he was brigade commander. And I think he was an aggrieved officer, so they knew they could win
him on their side.
On their side.
So if there were any people who were responsible for that period of 72 coup d'etat, it couldn't have been General Utuka.
It couldn't have been General Utuka. So why was General Utuka sacrificed? Why did they mention his name? It should have been either Agbo or Salome, who had been serving officers and who executed the coup. Kojiti Kata was retired anyway. Alphonse Kata was retired. Kofi Awono was a civilian. You see the unfairness there?
Yeah, I get your point.
Yes.
I mean, this is, of course, I mean, June 16th. Even after June 26th and the 6 generals were killed today, some 40 years ago, can you justify it?
The same problem exists there.
What is the problem in this case?
The problem, as I understand it, the reason why, in spite of the affirmation that there will be no more executions, and that Jerry Rawlings says they came and pressurized him. Who came and pressurized him?
Could it have been the civil society groups that you had actually spoken to, who were demanding?
My understanding is the shadowy group Boachijan referred to as the Jelukofe Mafia.
I don't understand that.
The Jelukofe Mafia are believed to be an elite ever group, including the likes of Alphonse Kata, Kojiti Kata, Kofi Awono.
The people who you say were somewhat responsible for the 72 coup. The
same people apparently were the same people were arrested in 1975 for what became known as the one-man, one-machete coup plot. There have been a series of attempts.
Okay.
The same people.
And you say that they masterminded the killing of the other 6.
I wouldn't say. You see, General Fifa, from what I know, stood no chance.
Why?
First,
because every first coup is related to 66.
Yes, but see, they had used treasonable offense as a charge.
Okay.
And he fell under that. They had said he had misused his position to amass wealth. They had said he had distorted the armed forces ranking system by rising from a substantive captain, an acting major, into becoming a lieutenant general in 3 short years. These were the quasi-official reasons. But there seem to have been other parochial interests.
Which are?
The Jelukofe Mafia wanted him dead.
Because
he was believed to have been the mastermind behind the killing of General Kotoka.
FIFA.
Yes.
I thought they worked together.
Well, I don't know where you were in the 1960s, but it was all over. Ghana was, it was news. It was general news. It was, people said he was the mastermind behind General Kotoka's death. Some people also have said there were elements in the CPP who wanted General Frifa dead,
for removing the Nkrumah government.
or Sajifo's government. And in fact, there is information that even the UNC, Powell's UNC, had made contact with Jerry Rawlings because they were concerned. They apparently found General Frifa impertinent and troublesome, and they feared, he was a threat to the leadership of the party. You know the UNC.
Was he actively engaged in politics? I thought he was in his hometown.
He was an elected member of parliament on the ticket of the United National Convention led by Powell and Obeda Samoa and co. So, you combine all these and it looks like I cannot put a finger on which of those carried more weight.
I see.
But these were apparently the stakes.
Would that be the same fate FWK Akufu would suffer because FWK Akufu virtually replaced a tampon?
From what I understand, General Frifa was the sole target of the second wave of executions.
The June 26th one?
The June 26th one.
So how about the 5?
See, it would have been so obvious to have plucked General Frifa and tie him to the stakes and fire him. So the other 5 apparently were used, like Enochs, as a sop to conceal General Frifa's execution in numbers.
And it had to take 5 more people.
If you kill them all, I can't say Nipadodo Fruamon, right? I don't know how to put it.
I get you.
Yes. But General Frifa apparently was the main target. And they had to dispense with these other 5 officers just so to cancel out any suspicions of parochialism in there. This is my understanding.
Now, it's interesting that 40 years, much of this has not been put out there as the real events, real reasons, and perhaps what influenced some of the major decisions.
Ghanaians have not wanted to know.
Really?
Period. Ghanaians have not wanted to know. Within 5 months of the AFRC handing over, Majors Boachijan and Mensa Poku returned from their studies or whatever abroad, held press conferences here in Accra, calling on government and the people of Ghana for an open, independent investigation into AFRC role. Nothing was done about it. In July 1981, Major Boachijan and I again came down, held press conferences, calling for an open, independent investigation. At least we thought that it would not only dispel some of the things Flight Lieutenant Jerry Rawlings had been saying, but that it would at least serve as a precedent. We all complain about bad governance. So if we had overthrown, a government, be it military, and had been in power for however long, and had messed up, and we were bold enough to call for an investigation into our administration, would it not have served as some kind of precedence? And yet...
But the Liman campaign had taken over then. In 81, it was the Liman government's time.
Yes, and Liman government did nothing about all that.
They didn't take it serious.
No, they didn't. And you, the media, didn't help. And the Ghanaian media didn't help. I recall Chris Archer's palaver accused us of subversion when we were calling for an open, independent investigation into our own government. He accused us of subversion and called on the Attorney General and Chief Justice to prosecute us. I recall the Daily Graphic came out with a banner headline that we were creating lawlessness in this country.
Just because you asked for inquiry?
Because we were calling for an inquiry. And as for the Echo, there was a newspaper called the Echo. They told us to stop our nonsensical effusions before Nemesis caught up with us. Unfortunately, within 5 months.
That's December of that particular year.
Of that year, Jerry Rawlings returned to power. Nemesis caught up with the whole country for 19 bloody years. Do you think it would have been an independent investigation? Jerry Rawlings would have been able to take over. He would have been exposed.
But so you suspected that period, the almost 3 months period of the AFRC had difficulties?
Absolutely. If we had not handed over when we did, this country would have been plunged into civil war.
How is that possible? But the AFRC was supposed to clean the system. You had finished with what you call the internal purge and all of that.
Yes, in an insurrectionary situation such as June 4th was, you get all manner of odd bedfellows with varying agendas. And June 4th was one such. I mean, before he didn't want us to hand over.
Who?
Jerry Rawlings. Before we handed over, he tried to engineer incidents which would create confusion and justify reneging on the handing over.
I would need you to be specific and specifically provide these incidents you're talking about so that it's not made to look like you're just making a claim.
Yes. An attempt was made to eliminate some of us. Me, Bwasijan, Mensapoku.
Because you were on a side that was not on his side.
I was, even on the day of the handing over, I was sitting with him under a tree right in front of the 5 Battalion. I didn't have any problems with Jerry Rawlings. I had my reservations. I was sitting with him when a radio message came through that Majors Bwasijan and Mensapoku were waiting for us at the castle. And you know what he said? Those bastards. This plot I'm talking about was revealed to me by one member of the pre-trial investigation team who was supposed to be a member and who told them that if they touched me, because he was from 5 Battalion, and he told them that if they touched me, 5 Battalion would go up in flames. And so it was aborted.
So that's why you're not killed?
I wasn't killed. I survived it. He again tried, Jerry Rawlings again tried to stake a charge of a coup plot on Bwasijan. And Bwasijan and Sergeant Alorga Katapori and my platoon sergeant, Sergeant Fripong.
Was this still AFRC period?
Yes.
Within the 3 months?
Yes.
Were there attempts to remove the then leadership within the same grouping?
That is what Jerry Rawlings claimed. That Bwasijan was plotting to overthrow the AFRC.
Mindful of his role in the June 4th events, it would be not out of place to suggest that he can do that, can't he?
Who?
I'm talking about Major Bwasijan.
Why?
Because, I mean, he was very active in June 4th. He's told me on this network before that he did a lot of work on June 4th.
Bwasijan, Jerry Rawlings were masters of the AFRC. And there is incontrovertible evidence that I was leader of June 4th.
Really?
Absolutely.
Major Ryder says there was no leader.
Major Ryder, my good major, I liked him. He was a good officer.
At the Recce Regiment.
At the Recce Regiment. We were all, you know, I was in 5 Battalion, he was in the Recce Regiment, just opposite across the road. I don't know, you know, his basis for making such a claim.
Because it says that insurrection could have been put down immediately at any point in time because it was not properly ordered. We were just younger soldiers who were shooting in the air without any proper direction.
I had been approached by 2 soldiers and I sacked them because they could not tell me pointedly what was on their mind. Within 2 hours, a 3rd soldier came to me and told me pointedly, "Sir, this is what the soldiers have decided to do. We have got cells in 1 Recce, Gonda Barracks. We've got cells in our 5 Battalion, and we've got cells in the Air Force Station. And they all say it is you they want as their leader."
I see.
A soldier came to tell me this. And I don't mind mentioning his name. I'm sure he wouldn't mind.
Who's he?
Peter Tassiri.
Peter Tassiri.
Yes. He became a member of the AFRC.
Yes.
The first 2 soldiers were a Lance Corporal George Asamoah and a Private Amuako. And within 2 hours of me sacking them, Tassiri came. So there have been
so
some
you
contact.
insist that you were the one behind UPfront?
Let me give you a few pointers for you to draw your conclusion. I know others are making claims. I have been modest enough not to make any such claims. I was the first and the only officer to have been arrested in connection with June 4th.
On the day before?
Along with 3 other soldiers. On the 3rd of June, at about 9 p.m., on the eve of June 4th.
I see.
When the uprising broke out, for the 36-hour duration of the uprising, I was, as a lieutenant, a piddling lieutenant, the only officer commanding and controlling the seat of the uprising. I organized the capture of Gonda Barracks. I organized the capture and recapture of Broadcasting House. I organized the flashing out of the SMC members from the police headquarters. And I was the recipient of a ceasefire and end to hostilities message sent from 1 Brigade HQ where the resistance were holed up. And the message was sent to me by a Captain Wilberforce, now Brigadier General Wilberforce, retired, and then Lieutenant, now Captain Budu Kumsen. Now, if you put all this together, draw your own conclusions.
Now, I want to take up the specific incident of the GBC Broadcasting one.
Yes.
I have listened to all tapes from the first announcement by Major General Odati Lamte.
Yes.
Odati
Wellington.
I've also listened to his second broadcast.
Yes.
Major Ryder says this was a man who only came to tell soldiers that, relax, there is no need for any form of behavior on the street because these issues could be handled. He believes that they were deceived.
When you have...
As in the soldiers, they were deceived.
Who by?
He said he was deceived by former President Rawlings and the likes of yourself.
The point
who
is
had
that...
told them that they were suffering insufferable conditions because of the greed of senior officers.
The point is that these same soldiers walked up to me and asked me for leadership.
You didn't provide a folder for them to embark on their action.
And even when I sacked them, they came back asking me to lead them in action. So I don't know what Major Rida is saying. I don't understand. In any
Because
case,
he went to actually prepare the broadcasting house for
yes,
the majors that he wanted to come and do the broadcast.
yes.
So he is of the opinion that
I know that my troops, 5 battalion soldiers, were in situ at broadcasting house when one Reiki officers in Mowax went to fire at them. In fact, one of my soldiers, a Lance Corporal Sopo, was fired through with a 20mm gun. The rifles we use are 7.62 millimeters. So can you imagine the circumference of a 20mm weapon?
pretty huge.
And Major Reda is saying they were not prepared to fight.
Yes, because they were not asked to do so.
They were not asked to do so. Why did they try to outflank me from the motorway until I opened up cargo staffs and my mortars and heavy machine guns on them? What were they doing trying to mobilize the field engineers to come and attack until the soldiers refused, because they knew that it was their counterparts, other ranks, who were fighting the officers or the senior officers. So I would take his assertion with a pinch of salt.
Now, let me make this point, and of course, this is one issue that's been argued for a very long time.
Yes.
Since you say you were called upon for leadership in this matter,
Yes.
outline what the main reasons for the June 4th uprising were.
See, the June 4th uprising occurred just about 3 months after the 22nd anniversary of Ghana's independence. And here we are talking about 22 years, which have been largely characterized by politically motivated violence, coups d'etat, the alternation of civil-military rule, bad governance, and all of which had militated against the growth and development of the country, impoverished our people, the masses of our people, reduced Ghana, the black star of Africa, to a near banana republic. Something had to give. We needed to rescue the country from the rocks towards which it was drifting. We needed to relaunch the country onto a path of patriotic democratic development, devoid of all the sleaze and the political chicanery and all the rot. We deserve better than that. We have gold, diamonds, manganese, bauxite, lumber. We have rich fertile soils in abundance.
That's wonderful idealism, don't you think?
Well, we were stakeholders. We were Ghanaians. We felt that the first 2 generations of Ghanaians, perhaps with the exception of Nkrumah, who under very trying circumstances really tried to move this country forward, the first 2 generations of Ghanaian post-independence leaders had all let the country down. And we could not just sit back, let the SMC hand over power to the politicians again.
Really? Because there was elections planned for in that particular...
It was a joke.
The election?
It was a joke. You made... No.
But the election campaign...
No, not
the campaigns were on that way.
No, not the election per se.
Yes.
But, I mean... we
returned to democratic
at least we were no longer prepared to accept the game of Russian roulette or Chaskele, which the senior military officers and the politicians have been playing with this country, the destiny of this country, for all those years.
How old were you at that time?
I was 30 going on 31.
That's interesting. It's been 40 years down the line.
Yes.
When you sit back today,
yes,
and reflect 40 years down the line,
yes,
are some of the things you actively participated in,
yes,
some of the decisions you took,
yes,
would you have still supported not only the June 4th, would you have still been this vociferous about a change in leadership that is required today, if you compare the 40-year period that's passed by?
I can speak my mind and what I believe to be the minds of those soldiers who approached me for leadership.
I see.
And not the minds of the AFRC under the likes of Jerry Rawlings. June 4th was betrayed. The AFRC was betrayed. Jerry Rawlings betrayed this country and Ghanaians. And even at the personal level, loyalties, he betrayed all those who risked their lives and sacrificed their careers to make him what he is today. You can only describe him as a traitor.
My question is about the values for which JoyNews was instituted.
Absolutely.
If you see Ghana today,
yes,
do you think that it was worth it?
No, because we haven't learned any lessons. Seriously. Apart from President Kufuor's reconciliation attempt, apart from our new democratic dispensation and marginal improvements in national economic performance, structural, infrastructural developments, I mean, there are many more and bigger cases of corruption in Ghana today than they were in 1979, for which people allegedly were executed. So how can I be happy? Ghana is back to the status quo ante June 4th, and this is because of Jerry Rawlings.
But how can you blame a man who's left the scene since the year 2000?
But he set the example for them to follow.
You have the opinion that all the other leaders,
Jerry Rawlings set the example.
Even parties that do not belong to his ideology.
Which parties? Which
I'm
parties?
talking about the MPP did not belong to the.
No.
They
Rather,
cannot take a cue from his government and run from it.
No, talk about the PNP. You see, the essence of June 4th was to try to stop the coup syndrome in Ghana.
But it didn't.
Thanks to Jerry Rawlings. It didn't because of Jerry Rawlings. But for Jerry Rawlings, have you heard of any coup attempt other than those which occurred, by people who wanted to reverse his 19-year rule? Have you heard of any coup plot, any coup attempt since 1979?
But to be fair,
because there was a certain deterrent effect.
Because he also ensured stability within the space.
He ensured what stability? False stability, culture of silence, 5-year dusk to dawn curfew, summary and public executions,
I think it's not
four disappearances.
I think not what states go through to ensure that.
No, we could do better. Ghana and Ghanaians are a lot more cultured than what Jerry Rawlings introduced.
Now, I want to be clear on this.
Yes.
You are saying that even today in the year 2019,
yes,
we are back to status quo ante, the situation that actually brought forth JoyNews and his antecedents. Do you think we can get out of this quagmire?
I believe Ghana would have made a lot more progress in our democratic experiment if Jerry Rawlings had not interceded.
But is that not in the past now? I'm asking where we sit today.
No, but it had an effect on today, on what goes on today. What he did as an he preached against corruption. He wanted this, he wanted that, he wanted that. He came and he massacred so many people, and he went back to the same thing. He presided over the syndication of graft and the naked rape and plunder of this country. He created a nouveau race.
You ought to prove in this case. You've not submitted any evidence.
I haven't submitted because he has ensconced himself.
But that will not stand any.
So let's expunge the transitional provisions and the indemnity clauses.
He's calling for the same thing.
No. Some people say he is not. I don't know. He's up to his tricks again. Let's really let our legislature take it up and expunge and pave the way for investigations and prosecutions. Look, all those scandals about Kitasi Defense Wall, Valley Farm, Cocoa Palm, Quality Grain, all those 300 state enterprises which were sold, some of which were apparently sold to his friends and family on the cheap. And there has been no investigation. There is no information about all these things. And look at his standard of life now. From a Yokogari creditor, look at him now.
You can't make that claim as your Yokogari creditor unless you have evidence to support it.
Oh, of course, he himself said it. He himself had said it repeatedly. And today he's here, your Yokogari creditor. How many toilets has he got in his home? And he was condemning people who had more than one toilet in their homes. He was always accusing civil and public servants who allowed their children to drive their cars during holidays because he didn't have a father who gave him a car to drive. And when he had opportunity, he used our aircraft, Ghana Air Force planes, to teach his children how to fly. But I mean, why is the justice in that?
No, let me be clear on this one.
Yes.
I hope you are ably interested in the development of this state and not what JoyNews' role has been only. The question I'm asking you, which I want us to end with, is, yes, are we heading the right path now?
Too slowly. Too slowly. The gap between the rich and the poor is so visible. There are a few rich, including the likes of J. Rollins and his cohorts, and the masses of our people are struggling. That is a fact.
Is that
it's undeniable that we are back to, look, the things we were fighting against are the same things which are prevailing today. The same things are prevailing.
How does that make you feel?
I'm saddened. I'm saddened, and what can I do?
Captain,
yes,
I hope we can continue this conversation some other day. But for now, thank you so much for coming to our studios today.
My pleasure.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Well, folks, that's where we tie the nice ribbons on today's edition of UPfront. Thank you so much for being with us.